back to another Sims 4 video right here on my channel. So today we're building another starter house, this time for the Mount Komorebi region. So this is a one-pack build. I only used base game and Snowy Escape expansion, which is actually the one that gives you access to Mount Komorebi, where we're building right now. So when I started building, I had nothing specific in mind. I only knew that I wanted to build something more traditional, and I also wanted to include a courtyard for a small garden area. So I started with this U-shaped structure here and added a patio and a bamboo fence. So as this is a starter house, I was building on a budget of 24,000 simoleons because this house is intended for 3 sims. However, as we also have to consider the cost of the 20 by 15 lot here, the actual budget was a bit lower, so we only had 22,000 simoleons to spend. Also at this point I was just trying to figure out the colors for the roofing and the walls, and I decided to go with a very basic black roof and some white walls with wooden accents. I initially planned on using more wood like in the reference pictures I looked at, but it turned out to be a bit too dark, so I decided to go for the more neutral and much lighter white walls that are also included in this pack. So at this point I was already pretty satisfied with the overall shape and overall look of the build. I'm just trying to add a few more details like roof trimming and also a small porch roof right here. Usually I also like to use a lot of pillars, especially in the corners, for some additional details. However, since pillars are quite expensive, I ended up removing almost all of them, especially in the back of the house where they weren't really visible. So here I'm putting down the privacy fence again because it caused some trouble with the stairs in the front for some reason. Personally, I think the trickiest part while building is putting down doors and windows, because I want them to look good from the outside but also be functional from the inside. And because I usually build as I go, I have to do a lot of rearranging of windows and doors because they're cut in half by a wall or just look completely silly or aren't functional at all. So this also happened during this build because I had to rearrange basically all of the windows later on. I also had some new doors. So at this point I did an oopsie because I didn't realize that my PC stopped recording for some reason. And unfortunately a large portion of the building process of the garden is not included in this video here. I wanted to include a pond here, but unfortunately it was so small that it didn't look good. So I decided to use an onsen and just shrink it down. It even has this cool like rock border I was looking for, so I think it fits perfectly. And then I added some more greenery around it because I wanted the garden to look natural, but like artificially natural, if that makes any sense to you. So here I also had to move the wall to the side because the foundation was actually interfering with the plants and made it very hard to place them. So here I also added some vines to the roof because in my opinion the wall was a bit blank and boring, so I want to add a few more details. I also added some more details to the garden. The Snowy Escape pack has a lot of plants in it, and in my opinion they are all amazing. I love to use them in other builds as well. So after I finished the garden I went on to the interior of the house, but first I had to come up with a floor plan, and I decided on putting the kitchen and the living room on one side of the house and 2 bedrooms and the bathroom on the other one. So I put down some grey tatami flooring in the whole house, which would later on be completely replaced by wooden flooring. I also put in this wall here to have a bit more separation between the kitchen area in the front and the living room in the back. And then I started rearranging the windows because they look kind of odd inside. So when it comes to building starter homes, you should usually agree on the most essential items first and then start adding additional stuff when you have some spare money left. So unfortunately I had to get rid of the fireplace because it was just way too expensive for a starter home. I initially planned on using one of these very low tables where you sit around on the floor, but I changed it later on because I wanted to have chairs. So at first I didn't plan on having a separate living room, and I planned on having a combined kitchen, dining living room area because this house is not very big. So as you can see here, when I build I tend to jump around a lot between rooms, which I hope is not too distracting for you guys, but it's just the way I build because as I go I have new ideas and I want to implement them right away. So here I'm working on the bathroom, which is actually way too expensive, so I ended up selling the furniture for cheaper objects, and then I started rearranging the windows on this side of the house as well. So in my opinion, adding more windows made the house look better. This also added more natural light to the room. However, they were still quite dark in my opinion. I'm not sure if it's because of the lot or because of the type of window I was using. So as already mentioned, this house is intended for 3 people. So I started working on the additional bedroom, which is actually quite small. It's only a 3x3. So at this point I realized how dark the house actually was. And so I started adding some neutral ceiling lights, which I actually kept. So for the kitchen I wanted to use the original counters, fridge and also stove that came with the Snowy Escape pack, because they look very nice, but they are also very expensive, so I had to be careful because they used up a lot of the budget I had left. So as I was working on the second bedroom, I thought it would be a good idea to have a room for maybe a teenager. So I added an additional workspace here. However, I couldn't afford a computer. I then used some wall art and posters to give the room a more personal look, which I could afford because the posters are only around I think 5 simoleons. So here I'm starting to move around furniture, which took a very long time to be honest, because I wanted to have a proper living room in the back of the house and because I wanted to use a very specific couch from the Snowy Escape pack, which I couldn't fit anywhere in here. So since Mount Komorebi and also this build are inspired by Japanese culture, I wanted to have a place where Sims could take off their shoes before entering the living area. So I added a shoe rack next to the door, which is a bit weird because it is right in the kitchen area, but it didn't work out any other way, so I left it there. And then I moved the dining table to the front, which is alright because this area was a bit empty anyway. And this allowed me to add the couch I wanted and create a nice little sitting area right here. So with the interior basically done, I started working on the exterior, and usually I like to add a lot of greenery. So for this build the landscaping was a bit of a challenge, because as already mentioned before, I wanted it to look natural but not completely overgrown. And at this point I've actually used up most of the budget, so I'm placing a lot of free objects here. So these are debug plants in case you don't know, and I also like to use them on normal builds where I don't build on a budget, just because they look nice and they are usually not available as standard objects. So here I'm using a bit of terrain paint for smoother transitions between the house and the environment outside. I have also added a small car in front of the house to make it look a bit more inhabited. Unfortunately, there was not enough space to build an actual parking space for the car. However, it would have looked odd anyway because we have this sandy ground here. So I guess it makes sense that there is no concrete parking space for the car. So here I'm almost finished. I only did some additional landscaping and put down an additional fence around the house as an extra detail. So these fences are debug objects as well, so they are free. So I actually replaced all of the previously built real fences with debug fences to save some money as well. So at this point I was pretty happy with how the whole lot looked like, and also that I found the debug fence because the real fence would have been way too expensive. I also added some more details to the exterior, like these wooden bars here. They're also debug objects as well. And of course some more greenery and flowers. So I hope you guys like this speed build of my Komorebi starter home. Please let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, I want you to say thank you and hopefully see you next time.